Hello and a warm welcome to Robin's TV Extra Time as we reflect on Bristol City's away 2-2 draw at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday this evening. We commend any journalist for any media outlet that's got to write a short, concise piece on that one because it was bedlam from start to finish. Joining me to look back on the action is Chris Honor and Leroy Rossignol. Chris, if I can begin with you because you were on commentary for the game. It was chaotic, but ultimately I think there'll be a significant amount of frustration in the Bristol City camp.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think it was definitely a game that we possibly felt as if we could have won before the game, during, and certainly after. There was a few chances went begging towards the end. And all in all, we watched a pretty entertaining game, but there were some crazy moments when a lot of professional footballers of very high standard probably let themselves down, but it was an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, Leroy, if we take a look at the statistics through the game, perhaps surprisingly, the expected goals for Sheffield Wednesday is actually higher than Bristol City, despite the fact that certainly late on it felt as though it was City's to win.
It certainly was, and that possession, they took control of the game, City. They worked Sheffield Wednesday out in that second half. The possession stat is great considering their first half performance. I like the duels one, 66 to 44, because in the first half I thought they were losing quite a lot of duels. Second half they seemed to win every single duel on the pitch, which kept them momentum. They won second balls, and they were just camped in that Sheffield Wednesday half. I think the last half hour they hardly got out of their half, Sheffield Wednesday. So what was pleasing about the City performance is that they worked it out in the end, and at the end of the game, the disappointment will come with them not picking up all 3 points.
Shows I've never played the game because I looked at these stats and said no offsides for Bristol City sort of makes a change, but that disappointed you because you felt as though they weren't getting in behind enough.
I thought they were looking to feet, especially first half. I thought early on when the ball went long to stretch the game out, it's not just playing along, try and play down the sides and get them turning towards their own goal. Even if you get throws in their final third, then you've got good possession facing that Sheffield Wednesday goal. But what they tried to build attacks in their own half on a dodgy pitch with their back to goal and great big 6'5" centre halves getting down the line, pressing the ball was causing them a problem. So yeah, I wanted them to just run in behind and just especially for the initial pass. As soon as you get it, it means you don't make any defensive mistakes. You get in there half the pitch. Even if you kicked it off the pitch, then you go and you pin them in, especially on a difficult surface.
And sometimes you don't want to become too predictable either, do you? You know, especially as a forward, if you keep coming to feet, the centre halves will keep squeezing you that direction. And if you sometimes spin out and go the other way, you know, the centre half goes, "Oh, I'd better not go too tight because he's going in there." So, yeah, sometimes you're looking at the offside says 0, and it tells a different story.
There was some common themes throughout. Something that did sort of change was that initially in the game, no real options for Bristol City at times. They found themselves on the ball a lot, but then didn't necessarily have the out ball then, in particular the likes of Scott Twine in the game.
Yeah, Scott Twine didn't necessarily get on the ball too much. It was very hard to find the two number 10s. I think Hirakawa probably played out of position, and he didn't get on it as much as he expected. We played a little bit narrow and we were invited to sort of really exploit the space down the channels, and we didn't make the most of that. And it's hard when you've got Mccrorie, who's a right-footed left back, and someone like Sykes, who is trying to play one of the first games in quite a few months when he's just come back from fitness. But that's another story for the second half because I thought Sykes did relatively well. Yeah,
and you know, you just seen in these clips there, they're trying to find people's feet. You know, and look at the Sheffield Wednesday team getting back. Even though it's does well to keep the ball, but the bodies Sheffield Wednesday got their shape in. They kept very narrow and said, look, if you're going to go anywhere, you'll go wide. But it was actually wide into the midfield area. It wasn't even wide into the fullback area. You know what I mean? It wasn't high and wide. And then City's goal came from Sykes being high and wide and threatening the fullback. In the first half, Mccrorie and Sykes were threatening the outside midfield players. So it was really comfortable for those wide defensive players to go and close the ball down and make them go back. So, and that made Sheffield Wednesday very comfortable in that first half defensively.
And the times they did go a bit more direct, whether it was a cross into Wells or a more direct ball, it did pay off, albeit didn't eventually result in an opportunity for City.
No, and you know what defenders don't like is they don't like running back to their own goal. And this was the one time in the first half they're running back to their own goal. Look at the panic around him, even though there's no one around Naki Wells. But Naki would have appreciated that. But as soon as they went long, you see, look, and there's no. If you slowed it down, look how far Scott is away from him. There's no one within 20 yards of Naki. They needs to get close to him. But look at the panic. Look at the out of shape Sheffield Wednesday are from that one pass forward. That was the only time in the first half that happened. You know, so you know, and you as a centre forward, you know, I would have been really frustrated for Naki because he's up against what he wants. He wants the ball up there, but he wants it early. So they're not set. And they were set against him too often.
Yeah, we'll see his emotion when he did eventually get the goal.
But you also
surely.
you want it early, but you also want support.
Yeah.
The support is the most important thing because you're only going to get a couple of seconds, milliseconds on the ball. Great first touch.
Yeah,
that was a brilliant pass. Great first touch. You know, the centre halves were, who's going to go and close him down? Who's going to, show him what direction we're going to show him? But Scott Twine was nowhere to be seen, so it didn't quite work for us on that occasion.
Yeah, to be honest, I always had a partner up front as well. You know, I always played with two up front.
Because that was the fashionable thing at the time, wasn't it?
As well. But you've got to, even though you're playing with one most of the time, you've got to turn it into a two. You know, that's your job as a number 10. It's not always there to come short. And they're two number 10s, so one could have come short, the other one could have gone as the second centre forward, and that wasn't there tonight. And they need to add that to their game. Can't always get it to feet.
Yeah, absolutely right. And then defensively, Bristol City, the goal came, and as a former defender yourself, Chris, we felt as though at that point, it was interesting to see actually the pitch there in the earlier clip, how much it actually deteriorated throughout the game. We're not making excuses utilising the pitch, but the goal was a frustrating one to concede.
It was, you can just see the City centre halves backtracking, and in the end, it was just a first-time ball into the box. Knight didn't go with a runner, and about the penalty spot, it was quite a simple finish by the Wednesday player. It was disappointing. It seemed just far too easy. And that's painful to watch actually, because as a defender, I would have expected myself to be in a better position, and you can almost see Zach Viner clapping his hands and looking at Knight on that occasion, saying, "Why didn't you track him into the box? Because, I've got one man behind me." Dickie's got his man and he's throwing himself at the ball, but the person that's really doing the damage is the late run from the midfield.
Yeah, we were really concerned at half time, but actually things got brighter in the second. We spoke a bit about Naki Wells and sort of his surprise perhaps to receive a more direct ball in the first half, and you could see the emotion on his face when he did eventually get the goal. In fact, you rarely see Wells quite so sort of worked up and sort of almost unleashing some anger in his celebration.
Yeah, but you look, he's in the box, he's got 4 Sheffield Wednesday defenders around him, but he would fancy that all day long. As soon as he saw that ball in front of Mccrorie, his eyes lit up, and then he just attacks the right space. I mean, it's a wonderful cross, but it's early. If the defender can't adjust his feet, get back, and he'll love that. Centre of goal, good contact, fantastic. It was the best move of the game, and it came in at a time where there was a lack of quality in the game, but that was high quality. And look at that emotion. That comes from the frustration. Hardly had a kick in the game, but he's a goal scorer, and he kept on going, kept on getting in there, and got his reward.
Bit of a deja vu from the pressing game, and it's interesting with Wells because we cover a lot of games. He obviously missed that pretty good opportunity early on in the Coventry game at the weekend. But in fact, you don't see him miss a great deal of opportunities. When he gets those big moments, he does typically put them away.
Well, again, I'm surprised that Leroy didn't pick up on it. He almost went near post, and the centre half went near post with him. And again, he's just changed his run slightly further to the back, just to give himself a little bit of space for the perfect cross. And as you said in before the show started, he did say "I love you" to Sykesy. So maybe there's a Valentine's Day card coming in February.
Yeah, and as a cool guy, usually, it
was a fabulous cross. I mean, again, for someone who's played on the right on many occasions, he didn't have an extra touch. He just put it into a dangerous area. He knew he was there. He just had to miss out the first man. Great cross.
And I don't want to say typical City, Leroy, but unfortunately, straight back up the other end. Did we feel as though this was a foul on Scott Twine in the build-up? Was it soft with the theatrics?
To be honest, at the time I didn't think it was a foul, we haven't seen it here because this is the goal. But I was more disappointed with that aspect, the missed tackle edge of the box and not quite getting there to close it down. But look, here's the incident here. Let's got Twan again in that area, which was all, and this is that first half. This is where Sheffield Wednesday wanted him, and sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. On this occasion, he doesn't get it. But here, again, sunk a little bit deep. When the ball comes to Bernard, look how deep that back line is, and that was kind of the problem with the first goal. If they'd been a yard higher, I think it's Max Bird and Dickey get that block in. They just dropped a little bit deep too early, and that's what allowed Wednesday to get in that situation. And Jason Knight, by the way, was excellent. He was absolutely brilliant. He'll be disappointed he doesn't manage to get a toe in there, just misses that challenge on the edge of the box. And the timing of it, when you felt that if City kept it at 1-1 the next 5 minutes, there was only ever going to be one winner.
Certain players in the Championship that you constantly see, season in, season out, Barry Bannon being one that is always involved, isn't he, in all things that are good for the opposition. Then Liam Manning turned to the bench, namely to bring on George Earthy and Sam Bell in an attacking sense. Felt as though on the whole, Chris, they had a positive influence on the game. I'd certainly say George Earthy looked pretty, at home in a more attacking position.
Yeah, I think what they were trying to do is just create overloads on the right and left hand side. On this occasion, he was the front man, and he put the pressure on the centre half and on the goalkeeper, and he just didn't get the rub of the green on that situation where it's kind of ricocheted into the midriff of the goalkeeper, who made himself as big as possible. It could have. In my day, the goalkeeper would have been sort of two-footed, which then ended up in the local Royal Infirmary. But, he's managed to get away with it, used an elbow and an arm just to cover himself. But, yeah, he made things happen, and I was impressed with Sam Bell as well. He's got good pace, good strength, full of running. Wasn't so impressed with this finish.
No.
I think it went off for a throw-in.
No, but their energy and their pace caused Sheffield Wednesday problems.
And it changes games, doesn't it?
It changes games.
It makes things go for you.
And it's interesting, I think you said in the second half during commentary, Chris, that the press, from City was a couple of yards off, but you saw in that clip there, they were right on top of those Sheffield Wednesday defenders, and they weren't that good on the ball. No. And so all of a sudden you're a yard closer and you put them under pressure, and they made their first mistake of the game, and it almost led to a goal because their energy getting closer puts them under pressure, difficult pitch. If they'd done that earlier, I'm sure the Sheffield Wednesday backline would have made a few more mistakes in possession as well.
Then came an important first goal for Bristol City for Ross Mccrorie, who, as I mentioned a couple of times previously on Robin's TV, he's become a really influential player for Bristol City, and again it comes from that directness, crosses into the box, initially started by Mark Sykes.
Yeah, and I said it before the game, how it's funny how you keep putting crosses in the box and pressure, and then people become disorganised, and Sykes, it does really well here, just clips it to the far post and you get panic. And McNally does well to retrieve it, and it's a lovely little header. Look at the numbers in the box. First time it goes in the box, you maybe have 2. The second time you have 3. And as you keep winning possession, players stay in the box, and this is what happens. McNally can sneak around the back. He anticipates it absolutely brilliantly. And look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4 City players within the width of the 18-yard line, and you get your goal. And
the thing that made me laugh was Sykes has just dinked that ball to the far post, and as it's gone to the far post and been half cleared, he's thrown his arms out to the side to say who's not attacking it. The Wednesday player made a bit of a hash of the clearance, and there was McNally to nod it back goalwards or back towards the goal, and there was Mccrorie throwing himself at it, and it was a good finish. I'm delighted he's got his first goal and gave City the draw.
Hopefully there are more. Then came the agonising moment. I was on my knees. I think Leroy by this point had lost the will to live as well. Sam Bell with a golden opportunity to basically win it at the end, and he clattered the crossbar. Chris, you said if you'd have scored it would have spooned off your shin. But yeah, Leroy, how do you feel about this one?
Look, I'll just say, firstly, the ball's gone in the box. It's been cleared by Sheffield Wednesday. Ryan's just put it back in there. Look at the numbers in there, first of all. And yet, look, he almost does everything right. If it hits a couple of inches under the crossbar, it bounces down, we're jumping up, celebrating. But I think if it's Naki, for instance, Naki is just instinctively hitting it into the ground. He'll learn from it, but he certainly had an impact in the game. But he could have had a bigger impact.
As Sam is one of Nels' finest, I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. He had to spin quite quickly. You know, he was watching the ball come over his shoulder. It was a bad touch that came off one of the City players, and it fell kindly for him. But he did draw back his foot all the way back and hit it with his laces. Yeah, just that'll keep him awake tonight, as it will me, you, and everyone else who were watching at the time.
I mean, in the moment, I said I would have scored it. Of course, I would not have scored it. I'd have just injured myself. So on reflection, you know, they'll travel back, of course, and refresh in the lead up to the Blackburn game. It'll feel like points lost. I'd imagine there'll be some travelling Bristol City fans, of course, that made that trip that are still feeling tired now.
They're superstars, aren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
You've got to commend
on
that.
a Wednesday night, 400 of them gone all the way up to Sheffield. Absolutely brilliant effort. And Blackburn on Saturday were only 4 points away from the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, we look at the results last night. You could argue it's a point gained in the hunt for the playoffs. Yeah. Of course, QPR have kind of caught up there. But you have a massive game now on Saturday against Blackburn, who are up there, and you could go, I think, to within 1 point of them, off the top of my head. So a big opportunity.
It's another opportunity. There's a big opportunity tonight. It hasn't been totally missed because it could have been worse. Let's be honest. So look, they've come back. They just refresh, and you know what I think they take from that game is just tempo. They come back to Aston Gate and just play with a real tempo and desire that they did at the end of the game. Yeah, sometimes you miss opportunities, but you cannot fault. You know, the last 40 minutes of the game, they were at it. I know they had a day's extra rest, doesn't really mean anything. They were at it and energetic. They put everything into it. They got to start like that against Blackburn on Saturday.
Do you think just getting the draw, just the 1 point, you know, had it been a defeat, would they have felt crushed, or that point gives them a little bit of enthusiasm to go again? Because I think that gives them a little bit of a boost that they did actually come away with something.
And they should have won the game as well. You know, if he just scrambled a point, you can. We're lucky, but they City were the better side. You know, they'd gone Sheffield Wednesday, so they should have won the game. They know they should have won the game. They're fit young lads. Their attitude is great. There's no doubt about it. Technically, sometimes it just they let themselves down. But I think they just come to Aston Gate. I think there'll be a great big crowd. They're right behind them, looking forward to it. We're still with a chance of just closing that gap to the top six.
Yeah, of course, and home form is fabulous as well. So we look to Saturday with optimism. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us once again here on Robins TV Extra Time. Off we go then to Saturday, of course. The game will be showed on Robins TV. So if you are watching us on Robins TV Extra Time, make sure you either get down to the gates or join all the action from 2:30 as Bristol City face Blackburn on Saturday. Another massive match if Bristol City are to hopefully propel themselves towards the playoffs. 2-2 in the end at Hillsborough. Frustrating night, but another point on the board. Thank you for joining us once again, and we'll see you next time.